right, hello everybody. We have another installment of Good Things Happen on Fridays. I'm Rob Thomas. I'm a BG5 enthusiast. I've been not only studying this stuff, but living this stuff since 2015 when it dropped out of the universe into my lap. And boy, am I glad that it did. So I always love bringing you new conversations. And this week, I get the opportunity to speak with a corporate powerhouse over in Turkey. How cool is that? I'm in Dallas, Texas. She's in Turkey. Without being too verbose, hello, Banu.
Hi, Rob. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
I'm really lucky to have you on this. I'm really glad that you're here because I know how busy you are. Why don't we just go ahead and kick things off? I want to, for those that are watching this, will you just share with them your corporate background and what you're currently doing?
Sure. So I have been in the IT industry for the last 21 years. And I only worked for two companies. One was Xerox for 11 years, and I have been with Microsoft for the last 10 years. And I manage some of the device business for Microsoft, let's say, in certain geographies. And my background is in really marketing and in sales. And right now I manage a sales team in my geo.
Wow. And so share more about your geo or your geography that you're responsible for.
Yeah, so I am based out of Istanbul, and I manage the business in Turkey and in Israel right now. Plus, I have a Middle East and Africa role I also take care of. So it's kind of 72 countries that we manage out of in Middle East and Africa. So it's a large geography with lots of fun because a lot of things go on in the Middle East and Africa. Mm-hmm. There's something new happening every day that you need to manage. So it's great. Lots of things to do.
Very cool. Good. Mm-hmm. And so, I've always been amazed and intrigued by what you do. Can you share more about how BG5 or Human Design for a Career in Business found you, or how did you find it? And but also, I would also like for you to share with those that are watching more about what you do for the Institute.
Yeah, sure. So I believe it was around 5 to 6 years ago that I went into a training where it had 2 days of human design. So I was going through some breath coaching actually, and some mind coaching. And part of it, 2 days was around human design back then. And during those 2 days, I was so drawn into the information, right? It was the first time I came in contact with it. But I went with the flow. I wanted to learn more. It resonated a lot. I don't know why, right? Sometimes you can't tell, but then your heart is following it. So that's what happened. And then I'm like, oh my God, this information is great. I'm just being drawn into it for a reason I don't know, right? So I started looking into it, getting to know better. I started reading, right? And then because I'm in the business world, I went into, looking at the website and everything, and I saw there was a portion of it about business, about the career. And I've been around for so many years. I've worked, right, all my life. So I said, let me start looking into this. And then, so time passed, and then I took the kids to Austria for skiing. And I got an invitation because there was an email from Karen that said there's a free class that everybody is welcome to join. So that was my invitation. And that evening, on the mountain in Austria, I took my PC and I joined that class. And that is how I got into BG5. So I had to continue taking the classes. So that got me into the foundation courses, really.
Well, that's a really cool story. As you were telling me this, I picture this beautiful mountain, and it's nighttime and it's covered with snow, and there's a warm light in the house, and
exactly.
Here you are on your PC. Yeah, and then you can get signed up with your foundation courses, which is, by the way, for those who have never done anything in BG5 and you've never done anything in human design, everyone starts at the foundation course for obvious reasons. It builds the foundation for you, to which you then build the certification courses on top. So, so Banu, you're an instructor for BG5. Can you share more about that with us?
Yeah, so after I went into the foundation courses and I aced through them, lots of great information, right? And then I went into the certification. And then while we were going through the certification, and this is long period, right? It takes you like a good year to take care, to go over the foundation, and then almost a year and a half to go over the certification for BG5. So during that time, close to the end, Karen was talking about, this knowledge is getting a lot of attention, and we're looking into having more instructors moving forward. And she said, if you're interested, just let me know. So I sent her an email. I said, I would be interested if you open classes, I would really be interested. And then time passed, and I again got an invitation that they would be opening these classes to become teachers. And I went into one, and the idea was I was going to deliver these classes in Turkish originally. So I went through the teacher training and started translating everything into Turkish so I could make the knowledge available to the Turkish people at large who don't necessarily speak English either. And as we were coming to the end of the teacher training, Karen asked me, she said, would you like to deliver worldwide classes for the Institute? And that was another invitation. And I'm just emphasizing the invitation because I am an advisor in BG5 terms, a projector in human design terms, and I need to have an invitation for things to be correct for me, or for me to be in the flow. So that was my invitation, and I started teaching for the Institute, which has been great.
Another cool story, and I really appreciate you articulating for everybody what that invitation means and why. For those of you that are watching, there in our system, there's 4 career types, and so Banu is an advisor. And advisors, in terms of their decision-making strategy, the most diverse of all of them. So it's fascinating. And with the advisor, generally speaking, they always need to be recognized first. And what that might look like is, hey, Banu, you've spent the last year and a half studying BG5, and your project was fantastic. Like, that's the recognition. And then advisors need an invitation, and that invitation, you've already seen what it looked like, but from my example, it'd be like, since you've done so well at this, I'd like to invite you to take a look at becoming an instructor for the worldwide, courses that we offer. And so boom, there it is. And then, depending on the type of advisor that you are, you get to run it through your own decision-making strategy. Like I said, there's 5 different kinds, I believe, just off the top of my head. I've studied this, and then you come to your own truth. And that's what we're really talking about here with BG5 and the human design system. It's about our truth, not someone else's truth, not what would make society happy, not what would make my boss or my spouse or my kids happy. What is my truth? And with BG5, of course, we're talking about the career and the business application of this. So having said that, Banu, you've done a lot of training. You know this stuff. You're a really good student, and I've actually been alongside you in some of the courses along the way. And now, there's always tremendous power, and especially a learning opportunity when you then take it and you give it, or you share it, or you teach with others.
Yep.
And so now, here you are, you're with Microsoft. You're responsible for a very large geographical region. You are responsible for big teams, lots of people. Can you share with us maybe a couple of examples of how you're using this knowledge and how you're using this system in a day-to-day basis?
Sure, Rob. So let me start off maybe two examples, how it has helped me in my career, and then maybe how I use it with my team. So my career, actually, and after I came in contact with the knowledge and the BG5 information also, looking back, and the fact that I need to receive an invitation, a recognition and an invitation, and then if it feels correct for me, I should go ahead with it. So when I learned this, I looked back at my career and all the career moves I had made, right? And I have changed quite many roles. I've just been in 2 companies, but maybe I've had 20 different roles, okay? Mm-hmm. And I looked at it, and all my career moves were by invitation. It's not like I went and applied for anything. I always got invited to my next role, right? So when advisors like me are given this knowledge that you have to wait for an invitation, and we're taught from our childhood that we have to go and make things happen, right? You have to go get things done. You have to ask for it. You have to fight for it. This is what we're usually taught when we're being raised and through business life as well. And it's really hard for somebody to grasp this and let it sink, right? I have to wait for an invitation, and it hits you hard, right? As a go-getter. But then I looked back, and anything that was good, all the good career moves that I made, they were all by invitation, right? And I could even give you an example. When I first started speaking to Microsoft, so I'm in Xerox, I'm doing some business development work there. And then going into Microsoft, I had like a friend say, there's this position, why don't you, you should apply. And then her friend's husband worked at the company, so he will refer you. Why don't you do that? She said. So that was an open invitation, because I wasn't even thinking about, going in. So I did. So he referred me to the role, and I didn't get the role, by the way. So I went in, I interviewed 6 months, and they said I was overqualified. So, and then, he said, it's a sales role. I met this leadership, somebody from the leadership team. He said, Banu, I really like what you've done. I think you can do the role, but I think, you wouldn't be happy doing the role. So it didn't feel so good, right? Microsoft is saying no to me. But then I said, okay. But then the HR said, can we invite you for more interviews? Can we contact you later? I said, sure. It's a great company to work for. And then I got an invitation for another role. They called me. They said, we have this role. Would you be interested? And I was, and that's how my story with Microsoft started. And then after that, all my moves were by invitation, really. I haven't applied to any roles. Even my latest one, I'm a sales director. I was given Turkey first as a team. They said, okay, Banu, we'll ask you to do this job. And then this year I got another geo, which again, by invitation, would you be willing to do this, take the responsibilities for another geography? So always by invitation. And it's been great. And the control is when you get an invitation for advisors like me, I just check whether it feels correct for me or not. Right. So that's my story around my career and how I have really utilized it. And then something I really want to mention, just waiting for an invitation is like just not waiting around and not doing anything. Right. So as an advisor, like we have to be responsible for everything. So I do a very good job at what I do. That's my priority, right? Whatever I'm given, I give it my best. I make sure I do my best, and I always get another invitation. That's how it kind of has worked for me, right? And then to give you another example, how I use it with my team, really, it's like I have a lot of builders in the team, right? Be it express builders. So as Rob was mentioning, the career types. So 70% of the population is usually builders, and I have a lot. But usually I know they need to respond to things. So I will ask them questions usually to help them make decisions. What's the right next action, for example? So I will give them options they can respond to whatever it feels right for them. And I always ask them to make a judgment around whether it feels correct for them or not. And I also, I'll look at people's maps and stuff too when I'm recruiting to make sure like salespeople have sales skills. That's like a side thing I use on the side to make sure they bring in the inherent skills that, that are there, apart from the interview and what my mind will tell me. And then, of course, I always check it with whether I feel right that I should recruit that person into that role. So, what we do in the corporate world for me goes hand in hand with the BG5 information, how I use it personally, and then how I look at the team at large with the information.
Wow,
Was that a
fascinating
lot?
stories.
Maybe it was too much, but
No, no, no,
I'm
no,
so
no. This
enthusiastic
is
about this knowledge, right? It's
Mhm. Well, that's the thing, right? Like there's so much, right? There's so much to this. And then every single day, there's so many opportunities to apply this, right? And you said a bunch of things that really, really got me excited. First of all, you talked about this conditioning or this influence that we all have about this
Mm,
idea about going out and making it happen, taking the initiative. And it comes in many forms, but usually the command is go out and get it, or go out and, like, if it's not happening on your time frame, figure out how you can make it that way, right? And if it's really
yeah,
wanting to show up as, this is just an arbitrary example, but if it's wanting to show up as red and you want it blue, well, go get a can of spray paint it blue, right? So all of that to say, what Banu's talking about here is we're all told to go out and make it happen. And that's only correct for 9% of the planet.
yeah,
9%, 9 out of 100 people actually are made, literally made, designed to go out and make it happen. The other 91% have a different strategy.
correct.
Banu talked about waiting. And so, maybe it's the same in Turkey, but I'll tell you, here in the United States, waiting it's a bad word. For people that wait, they're looked at as lazy. They're looked at as slow or unsure, or not enthusiastic. It's given this really bad connotation, but that's not what it means. Just like you were talking about, waiting doesn't mean go sit on the couch and hopefully somebody brings you your invitation. It's about doing the things that light you up, doing the things that were correct for you, doing the things that you already obliged yourself to via previous decisions, and then pay attention to the rest, right? And
Yeah,
so I wanted to make that differentiation. And then one of the things that you talked about, Banu, which really excites me. So you talked about how you use this information in recruiting. I've been in recruiting for 9 years. And it's, making the correct hire could quite possibly be the hardest job of any manager,
correct.
right?
Yeah,
It is the one thing that keeps the upper level management up at night. There's several things, but the top two, how do I acquire the best talent? And then once I've acquired them, how do I get the best from them? Talent optimization. And BG5 solves both of those problems easily, very easily. And you gave some great examples of this. The examples you gave are that when you're considering a new candidate, you look at their chart, you look at their map to see, does this person have consistently and reliably the traits and the strengths that would lend themselves to be a successful salesperson? We can see this in BG5. And then you also talked about how you're using this information for talent optimization in terms of, you have a bunch of builders on your team. And so because you know how a builder works, you can get the most from them. And so you're asking them very simple yes or no questions. And then you're checking again afterwards to make sure that what they've just told you is correct for them. And I'm emphasizing that word right now because most managers, they want what's best for their team, but really they want what's best for them, what's going to make them look good to their peers and their bosses, because many managers are afraid. And it takes a lot as a manager to trust that their team, in being and doing the things that are correct for them, is going to be what's good for them as well.
exactly. Because it builds up. If everybody did what's correct for them, it kind of collects into a goodness at large for the team, right?
Yes.
So it's important in that sense. And a lot of it kind of ties in, so much of the BG5 information ties into for example, we have some management principles at Microsoft. They're model coach care. And as a manager, you need to model your employees. So I do the hard, for example, working and doing all my responsibilities is one. And by the way, this ties in because I am also a 6'2", so that kind of comes in with the role model thing. Totally. So when I write around things, what I do for my team, the modeling is like a long part of what I could write down, really. So and then the coaching bit is really ties in with asking the things to respond to my builders, right? So that's that also ties in. And then there's the care bit as well, especially during the pandemic now. The care has been more and more important for all of us. But then what's correct for everyone, right? People have responsibilities now apart from work too. So everything kind of is meshed together now, the business world, home life, children, kids, right? And being able to manage it, looking both from the business side and what we've learned, plus the BG5 knowledge that I have, it's really helped me a lot, right? So it's good. I manage the best team in my region, so we're the best performing.
Of course you are. Yes, of course. And the one thing I'll also add to this is a very rich conversation, by the way. So I hope all of you that are watching this, you're enjoying this. And there will definitely be more. Banu, I will absolutely give you an invitation to have more conversations.
I would love to.
So Banu's an advisor. And the easiest way to say what an advisor is they are here to guide. That is their gift. Guide who? Well, ideally, they're here to guide builders, the 70% that she talked about earlier, because builders say yes to everything. And I know this very well because I am one. We have all of this energy that we just want to use, right? So we say yes to things that are correct for us and things that are not correct for us. And for some of us, we're out banging around. So advisors are meant to work with builders. And if you listened to what Banu said, that is the composition of her team. She's guiding builders. And because, again, she knows who she is, she's being herself. She's being, so that model coach care, she's being the ultimate example of a model at Microsoft. Microsoft probably doesn't know this from a BG5 perspective, but Banu shows up every day as herself, not as the version of some book that she read, like How to Win Friends and Influence People. Banu shows up as Banu. So she's giving her truth to her team, to her customers, to her geography every single day. And in that, her team, the builders, they get to see this, and that is a role model. So Banu's life unfolds as a role model. That's what she's here to do. And they see this. So then what do? They model this, and they're getting help from her in terms of how she's handling them as builders. Then they show up as themselves. So no wonder y'all are leading, because when this happens, by the way, and you learn more about this in the course, and I'm not trying to teach it today, but because Banu is showing up in this way every day and then giving this to the team and allowing the team to be themselves, there's a whole lot less resistance. It's all about flow. So things are flowing and it's easy. Now, it's not utopia. It's not Garden of Eden. It's work, right? But there's a whole lot less resistance. Fair to say, Banu?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So when you're with the flow and everybody is honoring their authentic self and setting aside the conditioning as much as possible, then everything will be just in the flow with minimal resistance and things fly, which is...
It's the dream of every manager, and it's the dream of every C-suite. How can we optimize the talent? How can we get more production happening? And this discussion has been a great example of how that can happen. So, Banu, I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I know everybody that's watching this has enjoyed learning more about you, how you found BG5, how you're using it on a day-to-day basis, what you're doing for the Institute. And I just really wanted to thank you for giving me some of your time today from all the way over in Turkey. One of the coolest things about doing these conversations with other individuals, and one of the coolest things I've always thought that was so neat about BG5 is this is global. It's everywhere. It's not just in the United States. It's not just in Turkey. It's in Asia. It's in Africa. It's in Europe. It's in Australia. It's in New Zealand. It's, for all I know, we're in Antarctica. How neat is that? So Banu, thank you so much for being willing to share with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Rob. It was great to be here too.